Welcome to The Growth Kit, a podcast where science and actionable advice intersect to help you live a better life. 10 life lessons I learned as an occupational therapist. Part 3. Life lesson. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill. Following Part 1 and Part 2, this is the third installment of the teachings of my job. 1. The struggle is an investment. Letting someone struggle is an essential part of the growth process. It's never easy, but the return on investment is worth it. By being forced to comfort our limitations and weaknesses, struggle improves independence, resilience, and character. Letting a patient battle to open a heavy door as you stand there making sure they don't fall was as hard a decade ago as it is, but now I have a more personal angle. My kids. There's no better way to learn how to walk, get dressed, learn about friendship, and, well, develop than with hardship. Stepping in to help has its place, but excessive help leads to helplessness, weakness, and fragility. It doesn't get easier, but they get better. Struggle creates growth. 2. What gets measured gets managed. Blood sugar, movement, blood pressure, HRV, flexibility, goals, and the amount of help needed for every ADL. These are all things we can measure, and this measurement leads to management, which leads to improvement. Biometric data with watches and phones make it easier than ever to both past and real-time data and have conversations about wayward trends. This knowledge enables us to transition from the abstract to the objective. Suddenly, we can link the cause, like eating that piece of cake, to the effect, measured by a CGM, such as a blood sugar spike followed by a drop, resulting in low mood and fatigue. The therapist's goal is to transfer this knowledge and the onus of these measurable data to the patient to allow them to develop autonomy for these management skills. If there's no checking, then there's no incentive to change. If there's too much checking or too much data, then the mind gets quickly overburdened and there's no incentive to change. Measure something, but not too much. Be consistent. Note the underlying reasons for changes. Improve. 3. The most important part of the lesson is often the pause after the lesson. Conversational pauses have many uses. Oftentimes they are used as an exclamation point used for emphasis and dramatization, but the power of the pause can extend further. This gap can be strategically used as a tool to allow information to be reflected on and encoded, that is, stored for recall later. Without these pauses, information just gets pushed along with the tide, never having an opportunity to be digested. Words are wasted with haste. Use silence to your advantage. 4. You won't make someone healthier by telling them what they need to do. My younger, overly rational brain used to think that throwing stats and studies in front of people would give them the aha moments it tends to give me. After too many attempts at trying to go through the mountain, I switched techniques and climbed over. Change starts with purpose, but you can't tell someone what their purpose is or how to live their purpose. You have to let them find it. Motivational interviewing is a catchphrase overused by life coaches and the like, but, in truth, it's a very effective strategy. Telling someone how to lose 20 pounds and showing them all the evidence-based data on how to do would work for a robot, but not a person. Use motivational interviewing to go deep on why they want to change, to play with their grandkids, live independently, work longer, and allow them to fuel their own fire. Save the how for later. Focus on finding the why. 5. The soft crowbar. Tell me more. I may use the phrase, tell me more about that, more in a treatment session than any other combination of words. Conversations with strangers are a constant back and forth of our minds measuring a degree of trust among one another. It's rare that someone will divulge all of their issues in a session, red flag if they do. Instead, they will subconsciously lay breadcrumbs, or maybe something will just slip. After a pause, and while maintaining eye contact, I say, tell me more about that. Sometimes this is a dead end, but more often than not, it's an emotional Pandora's box. Tell me more is like a soft crowbar, a therapeutic tool that lowers the walls of resistance. If you're interested in more therapeutic communication tools, see these takeaways from the book, Never Split the Difference. 6. Attention is the key to memory, learning, and happiness. Attention is one of the most obvious symptoms of an injury to the brain. That spaced-out look, or a seemingly total lack of interest, is often seen in those with severe brain injuries, but even subtle deficits in attention play a large role in our lives. When the mind fails to attune to a topic or situation, neurons struggle to encode and, consequently, cannot retain information. The essential process of layering concepts for both physical and cognitive development comes to a halt. Ever skip a day of school and felt months behind because you couldn't apply the skill you missed learning? Furthermore, having difficulty concentrating also limits our ability to be mindful. Being mindful requires a focus on the present moment, and this focus has a direct correlation to joy. Strengthen your skill of attention through meditation, breathwork, and mindfulness. 7. Consistency is critical. A colleague of mine once said, "Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every day." Change and progress often happen slowly. Be consistent with your life roles, your work toward goals, and your principles. Mastery doesn't come from an infographic, says Tony Robbins. What you know doesn't mean shit. What do you do consistently? Become a master of monotony. 8. Pessimism begets pessimistic results. One's personality has a strong impact on where they end up after turbulent times. Every once in a while, I'll work with a downright cynical patient, where every psychological technique I use to evoke hope, motivation, and purpose just blows up in my face. This combination of pessimism and a fixed mindset typically develops early in life, often in conjunction with trauma. This personality type leads to a vicious cycle of noting things going wrong and things going wrong as a result. Changing a mindset is no easy feat, especially when it's paired with a history of trauma. Change, however, begins with a desire to change. Start small, seek help from a psychologist if needed, and become better. 9. Cognitive dissonance, distortion for protection. Cognitive dissonance, mental discomfort with contradictory beliefs and information, is one of those cognitive heuristics every human brain has. It works like this. Negative beliefs and behaviors lead to negative emotions, anxiety, guilt, shame, which leads to cognitive dissonance. It can present in the form of avoidance, hiding behaviors, or through rationalization and explaining things away. I see this in various ways when working with patients. For example, about 80% of the time I show a patient their high blood pressure, they will immediately explain it away by saying things like, "I just worked hard in PT. I took my meds too late. I drank coffee, or I ate a donut 3 weeks ago." If that blood pressure immediately plummets, then more rationalizations fly. On a deeper level, I see cognitive dissonance about fears, addictions, body image, unhealthy habits, and anything society deems taboo. It's a great immediate coping strategy, but it has terrible long-term effects. Become aware of your cognitive dissonance tendencies. 10. You can teach an old dog new tricks thanks to neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to adapt and change in response to new experiences and learning. This means that old dogs can indeed learn new tricks, contrary to the popular belief that their brains become rigid and unchangeable with age. Through hormesis, growth occurs when we challenge our bodies in the right doses. Yes, our glory days might permanently live in high school, but that doesn't mean you can't get better. A 70-year-old can run 100 meters in under 14 seconds. An 86-year-old nun can crush an Ironman. 91-year-old Warren Buffett is still dominating in his role as CEO, and 95-year-olds can graduate from college. The only thing stopping you from getting better is thinking you can't. Thanks for tuning into the Growth Kit podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. You can check out my website at mindbodydad.com and subscribe for more weekly insights sent to your inbox. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at mindbodydad. Many of the links I share are affiliate links, which means I earn a small commission if you purchase through them. This doesn't affect the price you pay, but it helps support the podcast. In some cases, I may even be able to provide unique discounts for you. I only recommend products and resources that I genuinely believe in and use myself. My top priority is to provide practical ways to help you live better, and I wouldn't link to anything that doesn't align with that goal. Thanks for your support.